What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Halving Report podcast. The price of Bitcoin is excitingly just under 103,000 US dollars, and we're still about 2 years and 11 months away from the next Bitcoin halving. I am Brad Mines, your host. Today, we are welcoming back for the second time Crypto Lambo Astwood. Thanks for coming back on the show today.
All right, thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, a lot's been happening in crypto. We have a lot to discuss, a lot to go over, man.
Certainly. So just for viewer context, you and I met at the 2022 Blockchain Futurist Conference. And I'm not sure, I went back to the 2023 one, but I didn't go to 2024. Have you been going to that conference still?
I wasn't able to go back to the other conferences. I did want to go this year, but I have still to see how things work out with that.
Yeah. No, I didn't go this year either. And we can talk a little bit more about that later on. But we actually recorded the podcast, I think like 1-2 weeks before, maybe just a couple of weeks, tops like a month before the FTX defunct crypto exchange went under and they filed for bankruptcy. And I know that was a big part of our conversation last time was FTX moving their headquarters to Bahamas. And I know you were involved with it. Like that must have been a huge impact on you.
Yeah, that was, let me tell you like this, that was a one step forward and like two steps back for the Bahamas. I want to say like 10 steps back, really, because when they came down there, I never worked at FTX, but I went to the FTX Bahamas conference, and that's where I got like a lot of exposure to people within the industry. I gained a lot of knowledge during the time. But when that whole thing happened, and it happened so fast, it happened so quickly, like that there was that November, like everything just went belly up pretty much like in no time. And right now right now he's in prison. It's so insane because I met the guy, took a picture with him and everything, and
yeah, that was like your main picture there at the time. I'm pretty
that was
sure like
my
you
claim
just
to
met
fame.
SBF. Man, all I could think about was you because I had just spoken to you on the podcast when all that was going down. All I could think is I hope you're all right, with getting involved with that. But has that changed your mindset at all, like in terms of how you invest in this space?
It definitely opened my eyes to like how due diligence is very important, because what you notice with like a lot of the firms who were investing heavily in FTX, what they were doing was, I don't want to say this is exactly what they're doing, but it seemed as though they saw big firm A invest in FTX. So when they saw big firm A do it, big firm B decided to do it. Then big firm C saw big firm A and B do it, so they decided to do it. And it seems as though, I still don't want to speak on that because, my former job at working at a regulator, it seems as though proper due diligence wasn't taken on certain sides. So that's where it kind of left things kind of open, because a lot of things came out after the whole blow up, a lot of new information. And I don't want to say new information, but things that just wasn't really considered. And a lot of people were buying into the hype because, in the crypto space, a lot of it is based on hype. When you look at a lot of the success of meme coins and certain crypto tokens, a lot of it is based around hype. I think a lot of people, FOMO just kicked in. The FOMO was too strong, I have to get in on this new project. I have to get some sort of deal with these guys, and it just went left.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, but you're still here. You're still grinding in the space, so it's really good to see that. Everything's changed quite a bit. How you feeling today? I mean, Bitcoin's been pumping. We're up quite a bit in the last week or so, and maybe 25%, 30% in the past month. How you feeling about the price of Bitcoin today?
Yeah, that's always a good thing, because whenever you see Bitcoin, let me check the charts right quick. I'm not even checking the charts, but I'm just on Coin Market Cap. Bitcoin right now is a coin dominance of 63.5%. So what you're gonna see, and this usually happens with Bitcoin whenever it pumps, the altcoins are kind of like in the back watching to see what goes on. So when they see Bitcoin moving, that's when you see the altcoins move, because a lot of people, believe it or not, when they come and ask me for investment advice, like who are new to crypto, I tell them you're not really going to necessarily get rich off of Bitcoin, unless you're investing like Michael Saylor levels of money, like that, like hundreds of thousands of dollars or above. At this point, you're not really going to 10x. But what you're going to see is that creates opportunities for a lot of alternate altcoins, basically. So you'll see a lot of the altcoins start to increase based on just on following the activity of Bitcoin. What I just mentioned with Bitcoin's coin dominance of like 60 something percent. Historically, Bitcoin used to have a coin dominance of like 40%. So you could expect a lot of that money start to trickle to other altcoins. But I'm feeling good because me and my friend, Nelson Ricardo.x, I'm going to give him a shout out. We co founded a podcast and educational platform, Crypto Noobs, together. And whenever you see like the price of Bitcoin pumps, that's when you get a lot of new interest in crypto. But I always tell people you got to learn about crypto before you really start investing in it, because you don't want to go put your money at risk, then come to us or come ask us questions. It's a little bit late, but we're still going to do as much as we can to teach you and educate you. But yeah, trust me, whenever you see Bitcoin gets $100,000, new interests arise, new opportunities arise. Like everybody goes back in, you know.
So, what's the name of your new podcast?
The Crypto Noobs podcast.
And where can people find that?
You can find it on Instagram or YouTube. On Instagram, we're Crypto Noobs, Noobs spelled with a Z at the end, DU, and on YouTube it's Crypto Noobs, Noobz.
So I was kind of hoping you were going to come back on the pod and tell me you're a Bitcoin maxi now, and you only fuck with Bitcoin.
No, I'm not
quite,
a Bitcoin maxi. I have a friend, definitely, he's a big Bitcoin max. He thinks Bitcoin is basically the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, I mean, I kind of went through a process. Like when I first got into, I got wrecked by a few things, and over the years, it's kind of just pushed me, not philosophically, but as like an allocation maxi in terms of acquiring new assets. It's been Bitcoin, pretty much Bitcoin only for the last couple of years for me. But you know, I know there's other opportunities out there. I just don't see myself choosing the right ones based on my past experience and just watching the coin market cap kind of fluctuate the top 10 so much over the years, and just so much uncertainty. So I personally don't partake in the crypto world too much anymore, and that's kind of why I don't go to the blockchain futures conference either, is because everybody's got a different coin for me there, and I'm just more focused on the big boy, the big blue chip Bitcoin here, as we, you know, because we just came into the 5th biggest market cap. I think we overtook Google recently. So I thought that was pretty exciting. And you know, as you said, we're not going to get those face melting gains like we saw maybe in the early days of Bitcoin, but still a great savings tool in my opinion. So you know, it's definitely going to be probably number one for the foreseeable future. Would you agree with that? Do you think Bitcoin will stay at the top?
Yeah. Definitely, I think it's going to be at the top for definitely the foreseeable future. I think it is space for other coins to rise up, but like you said, and I always tell people this, most of the cryptocurrencies you see are trash. Like especially with this whole meme coin craze, you know, with pump fund, like guys was creating a new meme coin every 3 seconds and all that. Every second a new meme coin was coming out. The barrier to entry just was so low, and people just was trying. It's basically just became like high stakes gambling instead of investing. Like crypto is already it is what it is. It's a riskier style of investing, but when you get to that meme coin and that pump fund stage, that's when you're gambling. You're just betting on catching something the night before it falls or whatever they say it. But definitely I see Bitcoin being the real standard for crypto. You will have all these other cryptos will exist. Well, it might do well, but I always think Bitcoin is always going to be at the top of that hill, top of the mountain. That's why whenever I see Bitcoin, it's like, oh, we're the new Bitcoin. Or they used to do this like the Bitcoin killer. Like they're gonna overtake Bitcoin. It's like, nah, that ain't happening. Nah, I'm saying you might carve out your little piece of the pie, but it's not happening.
Well, that's good. At least we agree on that then. So just kind of circling back then, how has that whole landscape in the Bahamas, are you living in the Bahamas, and how has that landscape changed since the FTX collapse, and how has it developed in the last couple of years there? Have they kind of taken a different approach now?
Yeah, you saw it is like a lot of divergence away from the crypto and digital assets. They did have the revamp, the DAC and all that. But what you're seeing now is a lot more skepticism. And where we saw the opportunity with our podcast and our company we started is there's a lot more demand for education around crypto, because a lot of people are just hearing about it and all that. But believe it or not, even though FTX made their home there, a lot of the locals still don't fully understand it. We made it kind of our mission to be the go-to place to educate them. You know, we host webinars, seminars, and events. We started doing that just to get our name out there and also build a community, because, you know, crypto is very community-based. but
Mm-hmm.
it take a big hit, especially like in the more corporate sense. But you do see certain firms now who are actually trying. I guess, like I said, this is all good. Like when you see the price of Bitcoin going up, more interest is peaked. So now you see companies actually trying to teach their staff more about it. So they're actually making sure they bring in people so they can learn about it. There's a lot of like, and I hate to say it like this, there's been some scams going around locally, and some of them were using Bitcoin and crypto to basically execute these schemes. So a lot of people now are trying to get educated more so on it. So it has been a step back, but you see a lot more people are interested in learning about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we always see folks come more interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as price moves up, of course. But it's good to see that interest still is there, even though you guys kind of, went through a rough time there in 2022. Lambo, do you remember? Can you recall the price of Bitcoin, or approximately the price of Bitcoin, when you and I first spoke on the Halving Report?
Was it over there?
The price, dude, it was 21,000 US dollars at the time. So
Yeah, I
so
saw.
yeah, and that
Wow.
was only a couple of years ago. So you can see,
Yeah.
Bitcoin itself at 21,000, and today we're over 100. So that's a pretty good return for just a couple of years. I mean, depending on how much you're
Yes.
putting in, dollar cost average in, you're up, 400 or 500% over the course of a few years is pretty good when you compare it to traditional stocks. But that's kind
Yeah.
of like one of my things I like to do in the pod is see the price when we first spoke, see the price when we're speaking now, we kind of see the Bitcoin appreciation, and hopefully people can appreciate that. But I also wanted to ask you about, because I know you did back in the day or a few years ago when we first spoke, we were talking about your certified blockchain architect certificate, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, has that helped you in the space now that some time has passed, or would you recommend a different path for folks interested in the same thing?
Well, I haven't really used it as much, but my personal recommendation, especially locally for Bahamians, is learn about blockchain and crypto compliance. Like, that's like after that whole FTX blow up, like it became very evident that compliance, and that became kind of like something that a lot of firms were looking for. Even outside of FTX, you saw a lot of firms really start investing heavy in their compliance sectors because now everybody just wants to make sure they're on the up and up. With this administration, you're getting more regulatory clarity. But back in the day, it's dealing with Gary Gensler and all that. Everyone felt like they was doing something illegal. Just felt a lot of those big firms in the U.S. They felt like they were almost operating in the Wild West. They were, I would say, definitely looking at the compliance aspect. If you're not too much like programming back end developer type of person, or you're not really into that, I would say definitely look into compliance if you plan to work in crypto or you plan to get into crypto.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of job opportunity there as well for people looking to get into the space, like compliance, not just for yourself of holding Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, but also if you are looking to work in this space, compliance is going to be quite huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm actually just seeing 3 hours ago on Bitcoin Magazine on Twitter that they tweeted Bitcoin surpassed Amazon to become the fifth largest asset in the world. That means it's gone past Google, Amazon now, and Nvidia would be the next hurdle, and that's at 103,000. So that's pretty crazy. I wonder what it was when we first spoke. It was probably like top 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now we're at fifth. So Lambo, what occupies your time right now? Are you like mostly working on the podcast? Are you working a different type 9 to 5, or what are you up to?
Yeah, I'm working in a different 9 to 5, also in a regulatory role, but not so I deal a lot of like in-house stuff, so I don't really like do regulation as far as like banks or investment institutions. Do more so financial analyst work. That's what I'm doing now.
Okay.
But a lot of that's my 9 to 5. My 5 to 9 is basically just focusing on the podcast, producing content, keeping up to date. We're working on putting together different events. So we're having an event for, we're not really like promoting it. We're having an event for Bitcoin Peaks today. That's May 22nd. So we're having like a
Oh
little get
yeah.
together for our community. So we've really been working on building that community, building our brand, and getting our names out there, because that's the key point. Because if we want people to invest in crypto and understand it and get on board, we definitely need them to be
Mhm.
educated. So our main mission right now, just to educate the people.
Hmm.
Yeah, when you see the price of Bitcoin going up, like you said, like the interest peak, and someone was talking about the meme where they'll show like Bitcoin's price, let's say, for example, at 80,000, right? The line will be empty. No one's at the line. Then when you see it hit 100,000, everyone's at the line trying to get the
Yeah.
buy-in. Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
when people see the price drop by 10% or so, oh, Bitcoin's finished, it's done, it's over. Then
Always see that meme recirculate with different prices as we move up throughout the
yeah,
years. People always revamping that meme, and it's so true. It's just so true. The price appreciation, just for what it's worth, just always attracts so many new people to the space. And although we've been saying, for years and years and years, you should probably look into this, they don't quite look
mhm,
into it until they see that price bump and they see mainstream news.
yeah,
I'm not sure how much we can change that, but I know I've definitely orange pilled a few people in the bear market, which is always nice for them to get the gains as we go up and
yeah,
not just a little bit at the top, right? So you
yeah.
so you mentioned you're focusing on the content, and I know you've been doing that for a while now. So I just want to say kudos to you for keeping up on that and spreading the good gospel. What have you learned about content creation since you started?
Consistency is the key. I took like a year off. I was dealing with some
Hmm.
personal stuff, and I took like a year off. It became like when I was trying to get back into it, is almost like a muscle. You had to like redevelop because a lot of people
Hmm.
think it's just cutting on a camera and speaking. A lot of people, and for some people, it is that easy. It is that natural, right? But it's like you got to make sure what you're saying, whatever you say, is backed up by facts, evidence. So whenever you see me like say something in a video, I have sources for it. If you ask me for a source, I can show you a source for it. I don't just come out spewing stuff out of my head and all that. Then you gotta put your own logical twist to it, your own your own subjective twist to it. But as far as like content creation, I just tell people that's like a muscle, and you learn different ways how to appeal to audience, speak to audience, get them engaged in certain topics. Like, for example, on my TikTok, what I found quite interesting is my two biggest videos on TikTok have absolutely nothing to do with cryptocurrency. It was just me breaking down some concepts that a lot of people were talking about at the time, but they didn't really understand. One was dealing with the tariffs. I remember when Donald Trump announced tariffs on every country in the world, basically, even countries with population of zero people, he was announcing a tariff on it. So I made a video explaining that. That did well. Then I made a video about space flight, the Blue Origin mission into space, explaining that. That did really well. That's like, and people come ask me for advice, and it's like, I don't really know nothing about space. I just researched for that video, and I just made a video about it. I don't know. I'm not an astronomer. I don't know nothing about space, but I literally just made notes. I read as much, like enough to understand the whole context of it and the details of it. But yeah, content creation is really funny to me. I find it really is really fun and is engaging. But one thing I learned too, you have to treat people who watch your videos an audience. What I mean by an audience is you have to treat them like a community. Don't just think of it as like, well, you're my fans who watching me. No, you don't want to get that point of view. You want to be like, okay, like every time I meet someone, they're like, "Oh, I saw your video and that's that." Because Nassau Bahamas is not that big, so when people recognize me, I always tell them, if you have any ideas for a video, please feel free to shoot me idea. Because sometimes I get creators block or whatever, so it's like, please shoot me an idea for if you need anything explained. And I find that a lot of people like that. They like when you actually personalize stuff for them.
Very smart to talk to your audience, build that community. You kind of need to, unless you're a diamond in the rough. You really need
Yeah,
to engage with your community as much as you can and do what they want to see and provide that content for them. Reply to their comments, have discussion, group chats, anything you could do. It's just for me, it's personally, I guess it's time constraints of how much can you really do? There's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Spotify, all these different platforms, social platforms, Twitter. And it's like, where do you really want to focus in on? There's just so many different avenues you can go. But I like that you're crisscrossing your platform, not just cryptocurrency, but other topics as well, because
yeah,
it's a multidisciplinary space and people are becoming interested in different things because of different things that are going on in the world. So it's sometimes a good way to segue people into this world as well.
yeah. And what I find too is sometimes stuff that you might think, like even if you're not talking directly from like a crypto article or directly about crypto, especially like when you're dealing with economics and finance, traditional finance, a lot of it does have an impact on crypto. And I was telling a friend this week, I was like, I might as well be the correspondent for Donald Trump because almost every video is like I had to literally stop and like go back to the drawing board because it's like I found myself writing a bunch of scripts or going over a bunch of stuff with Donald Trump, but it's like everything he says has an impact, crypto, the stock market, and he does so much stuff within the span of a week. It's like it's hard to keep up with him. So
Yeah.
I was like, you have to know like what to filter out, what needs to be explained. Some stuff isn't really is just some stuff are just like noise. Because trust me, I'm sure by the time we start talking on this podcast, by the time we over, some news about Donald Trump is gonna come up. I guarantee you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there. I mean, there it is. Yeah, it's hard to avoid mention that name as much as you try not to. There's, America being the superpower of the world right now, and going to be pushing forward the cryptocurrency space. If they continue with this national strategic reserve and Bitcoin, it's going to bring a lot of new, big institutional money, nation state money into this space,
Yeah.
and that could launch us into a whole nother level of hyper Bitcoinization. Would you say that's the biggest catalyst right now, or what do you see the biggest catalyst in this cycle?
Yeah, I would definitely say politics is playing like a major role, but it's if they could execute everything that they plan to execute. I don't want it to be just like, okay, we mentioned the Bitcoin reserve, but it doesn't come about at the end of this tenure. When you actually see if they're making real steps towards it and it's actually becoming real, that's when you will see, I think, Bitcoin really skyrocket. Because I think the CEO of Cardano mentioned that he thinks Bitcoin can hit probably $250,000 by the end of this year or early next year. And I was like, that's probably realistic if they're able to get everything they say they're going to do, if they can really groundwork to it. Because once the government gets behind something and you already have private institutions behind it, and once we get that government money behind it, they're going to really push that. And what's going to happen and what you'll probably see is a lot of other countries are going to start doing the same thing because they don't want to get left behind. America said they want to be the leader in digital assets, and you're going to have Russia, China, all these other major developed nations who are going to start joining in that race as well.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful for China to come around. I know Trump just said, if we don't do it, China's going to do it. But I mean, China, I feel like they're just a whole different world over there, and they like to control that type of thing a little bit more. And Bitcoin's all about having that freedom and having that financial freedom in your pocket to do whatever you really want. So that'll be an interesting to see how they develop in this space, because I mean, I think everyone's going to have to adopt it. It's going to become a defense thing. Like, you're going to have stockpile, a reserve, right? It's like gold. You're going to have some Bitcoin now. Well,
Yeah.
that's an interesting. I mean, America, yeah, kind of in line with American values and the freedom aspect of it. But Chinese, I don't think so much. But there's such a big part of this space in terms of mining still. Very interesting. I'm keeping a close eye on what's going on over there, but it doesn't seem they're budging too much right now on any regulation. But things happening all over the world. So you mentioned the Bitcoin Pizza Day. You guys are doing an event for that, you said?
Yeah, we just probably we are gonna either rent out a venue or just go to a pizza shop and just get some of
Hang
our
on.
close community people because like we host live sessions like every other Sunday. So
Hmm.
where we just come and we talk about what's happening that week. So a lot of people like who really support our community. That's what really we're about now, just building up that community. Yeah, we're just trying to show the appreciation for the people.
Cool, man. And last time we spoke, you spoke about Solana, and you used to be interested in that. Is that one of your interests still, or have you kind of moved on from that project?
Boy, I moved on at the wrong time. Because remember when the FTX collapse happened and Solana took that huge hit. So I was under the assumption at the time that Solana was kind of finished. But then
Hmm.
I bought into some, then I sold it off when it reached a certain price point. But right now Solana is what, like top is number 6. Yeah, Solana is up there as far as like when you look at the different cryptos. Yeah, Solana is
Yeah, I know
really
it's gotten a lot more popular since,
yeah.
like, it was popular then. It was just kind of seemed more new then to me. Now it's been around for a while, and full disclosure, I do hold some Ethereum still, as much as I preach Bitcoin only for new people coming in the space. I mean, we got a little Ethereum pump right now going on, but you can see my percentage of my portfolio in Ethereum just keeps shrinking when it's priced in Bitcoin portfolio. So we'll see how that
Good
plays
point.
out. I'm not sure what my plan is here. If I'm gonna swap it all to Bitcoin and just go
Yeah.
full out, or if I'm gonna hold my little bit of Ethereum. But I'm a little bit more, I don't know, scared in terms of my Ethereum holdings because it has competitors like Solana, whereas Bitcoin, I don't feel like it has any competition.
I have to do I was supposed to do a deep dive video into Ethereum because I don't know if it's just me, but it doesn't seem like Ethereum has been moving like relative to like a lot of the other cryptos over the past few years.
Yeah, and
So
it's something me and you spoke about too in 2022 is the merge, because I think we're just coming on the Ethereum 2.0, the merge.
yeah,
Everybody expected big things, and I think we did have a pump there, but or through since then, obviously, but now we've kind of come back down to levels that are not really impressing too many people anymore. So
yeah,
we'll see how this cycle plays out. You mentioned the Bitcoin dominance, which is a factor I like to look at as well, and Bitcoin dominance is quite high right now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
again, we usually see that kind of go down and all that volume go into crypto as we get into alt season in this space, and then people are going to be boasting about their Solana gains or the Ripple gains or the Doge gains,
yeah.
and that's when the Bitcoin maxis and the crypto people might clash a little bit over that. But it's always interesting to see. Like I said, I'm philosophically, invest in whatever you want to. I think dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin's a smart conservative play.
Yeah,
Not going to get you rich overnight, but will make you relatively wealthy over 8 years, depending on how long
yeah, yeah.
and how aggressive you're into this space. Another thing is that we talked about, because I went back and watched our interview before speaking with you today, this morning, my time, nighttime for you, is your love for exotic animals. Pet tiger, you had the big snake. Have you met any
Yeah,
other big animals since we spoke?
yeah. I haven't been around any exotic animals lately. I really got to get back into there. I have a friend who recently she been to Africa like last year or a year before.
Hmm.
I was so jealous. I was like, yeah, like she's really looking at elephants, but then she'll show a video of like where she was sleeping and you could hear like the lions roaring outside. I was like, yeah, I would have been terrified.
Wow. Would you ever do one of those things where like you're inside like a glass encasing or like a cage, and then they let the animals surround you?
It
Ever seen
depends
those
on
things?
it depends on the type of
Like a lions or tigers.
a wild lion. Like if it's tamed and it's not hungry, then probably.
It seems like something you'd enjoy.
That's something I'd probably try. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I know one animal who I'm actually terrified of, and this animal's been in the big discussion is gorillas. Like I don't know what it is for the longest, and it's so funny that they picked the gorilla because I told people I'm more scared of a gorilla than I am a tiger. I don't know why, but
Oh,
like I'm just
that's
afraid of
funny.
them.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense to me. So what do you think? One silverback gorilla or 100 men? Who do you think?
I think it depends on who the men are. Like
Mm,
the average man, no, I don't think so. But if you get like some MMA fighters, some grapplers,
yeah,
some marine guys, then yeah, probably. And I don't even think that's going to be as easy as people think. Like,
that's
yeah,
hilarious. Yeah, it's been, I don't know. I see all these videos on YouTube. I don't know who's making them, but it'll be like, it'll simulate it, or it'll be like the Avengers versus 100 gorillas. I don't know
yeah,
if you're seeing this in your timeline too, but it just seems like they're so entertaining. Actually, like I
yeah, it'd be
watch
like
them.
a
I'm just
20-foot tall gorilla taking on a bunch of guys. So it's like,
yeah.
so
I don't know
like,
what it is, but men love this kind of stuff. It seems like.
yeah, we love stuff that don't make sense. Like
Yeah,
these
yeah, we love
discussions.
that shit. What are you wearing today? Is that a
That's
football
just
jersey?
Yeah, soccer jersey. I have no idea what team. Sorry, I was saying I have a bad habit of buying soccer jerseys for teams I don't watch play because either I like the color scheme of it or.
Yeah, it's all about style these days. Anyway, have you been watching much sports lately?
I was watching some basketball the other day. I'm not really a basketball fan, but I just like following the playoff series, which is really quite interesting.
Ah,
Celtics,
okay,
yeah, they're having a little bit of a struggle now, and nobody's
okay.
gonna feel sorry for them. They're the defending champions, but so they're
Yeah,
down.
actually, I've been watching as well, and I'm rooting for the Warriors and Curry. I want Curry to
Mhm.
win another ring and solidify or strengthen his legacy there. But he just got injured last game, So they're
Yeah.
actually playing game two without him. I think the game started maybe like a half hour ago. So maybe when we're finished this, I'll tune in and watch the rest of the game. But it's funny. I've been watching a little bit or following the basketball playoffs a little bit too. It's quite entertaining for me.
If I was to want a team to win, it'd actually be the Warriors as well, but for a different reason. Buddy Hield plays for the Warriors, and he's a Bahamian. So yeah,
Wow. Okay. You know
like
what? I just figured out who this guy was, and
yeah,
he's been going off, man. He's been doing really. He had a couple 30-point games. He's been doing
yeah.
very well.
I've been a fan of Buddy from he was in college. You see, so it's like that's me. A lot of Bahamians they
Wow.
like him, because he's a really like
Hmm.
he comes back, he gives back to the community and all that. So a lot of people respect that. After that game seven, he was like a national hero where like people didn't want to go to work.
Man, yeah. Well, that's interesting. Buddy Hield is Bohemian. That's super cool.
Mhm.
I'm gonna tune in after this podcast and hopefully they can steal game two in Minnesota.
Yeah,
But Minnesota has Ant-Man, who that guy is
yeah.
just young and explosive. I thought they were gonna have an issue, but I saw a clip online. Draymond Green is just talking shit, talking so much smack to this guy on the court. He's just in his head.
Ah,
So we got the dirty Draymond Green playing
yeah.
his role. He's such a great piece for the Warriors as well.
Yeah, that's what you need. And sometimes you gotta fight that fire with fire. Like someone like you gotta
Yeah.
not that he's a dirty player, but you need someone who's like that. That type of personality to deal
Hmm.
with a guy like that.
I mean, I would personally say he's a dirty player, but he's on my team, so it's okay. He's on the team that I like. Like you
Yeah.
always see the clip where he grabs two guys, both their
Oh,
arms, and then
I
just
was
falls
talking
down
about
himself.
I was talking about Anthony Edwards. I was saying he might not be dirty. No,
Oh,
Draymond is the dirty player. Like Draymond is not
oh,
a
damn.
no, no,
Oh
no.
yeah,
Draymond needs to
yeah.
go in the
Anthony
UFC.
Edwards.
Like he needs to be.
Yeah, yeah. He's a different breed, but
Yeah,
thankfully he's on Curry's team. Thankfully he's
yeah,
on Curry's team. Yeah. So lots of fun stuff going on right now. We're Bitcoin sitting at 100, just under 103,000 US dollars. I'm in Thailand now. So like I said, so I just woke up. It's 8:30 in the morning here for me. I know it's late for you.
yeah.
And when I went to bed, it was just at 101. So I woke up. Bitcoin's been a couple $1,000s more. So super exciting to watch it these few days that it moves up 5-10%. The last 24 hours we're at about 5%, so super exciting time. Have you been to Thailand before?
No, I've never been. I always wanted to go. I had a friend. I had two friends actually who did Muay Thai, the kick, like they did kickboxing. So they went there for like a few months and trained, and it really looked nice. It looks awesome.
Yeah, so actually I'm doing Muay Thai as well. I've been off for like a week or week and a half just because I got my Achilles heels are just killing me. I don't know, it's so much like jumping on like your
Yeah,
your toes when you're kicking. So I've actually been doing it for about 2 months as well, and it's very cool. It's extreme training when you go to class. They're like making you run and skip and
yeah,
everything before you're sweating a lot before you
yeah.
even begin to learn any type of skill. But even just 2 months goes a long way. I feel like learned so much. Just proper how to kick proper, how to punch proper, and like you're throwing elbows, you're throwing knees. I think they say it's the second deadliest sport in the world,
Yeah,
just because
it's really,
the strikes could be so devastating. But yeah, I'm out here in northern Thailand right now. I'm not sure what part of Thailand I'll be. Maybe the time you want to come, if you want to ever come visit out here, though, there's the big Bitcoin Learning Center here. There's a man named Jimmy Castro who's from New Jersey, and he's pouring into the community. He's hiring people, local Thai people, to go and like approach merchants to accept Bitcoin Lightning for payments. And he's got a whole team. They're in with the universities. The director of the Bitcoin Learning Center here is also a professor at the university, and they're actually speaking with Chiang Mai, which is like the province here. They're speaking with the
mm,
organization committee of rolling it out, and they're hosting a big world's first Bitcoin half marathon here November 1st and 2nd that
wow.
aligns with a big Thailand holiday. So it's going to be a big festival. They're expecting over 10,000 people to attend, maybe 3 to 4,000 runners, and just thousands of people coming. So they're really ramping that up. So I want to encourage and just let people know that coming out to the pod, what's happening out here in my space, it seems to be pretty cool, and Jimmy seems to be a big part of that, and just the building here. You can do things really cost effective here. Things are a lot cheaper here. I'm not sure compared
Yeah,
to Bahamas, but compared to Canada, definitely a lot cheaper here to get things done.
yeah.
And it's really cool what they've done. They're making like a 3-4 level Bitcoin learning center. It's just open to the public for you to stop by and check out, hang out. So super cool. So I wanted to just let my guests know about what's happening here and support that local community here as well. So, but is there anything else that's kind of happened that you think's worth mentioning in the space lately that's stood out to you?
Well, you know, a lot of people they are developing a lot of stuff, and locally there's not as been as much. That's why we're really trying to push that catalyst. It is really interesting what you guys are doing over there. That's definitely something I would love to probably see if I come visit. Just visit the Bitcoin Learning Center because that sounds really, really interesting. Yeah, that's something definitely is good. And hopefully we get to the point where we're doing something like that locally in the Bahamas, you know, of like a learning center or training center for people who want to
Yeah,
learn about
yeah.
Bitcoin and crypto. And not
Hmm.
not just even just that, that's finance in general, like financial literacy, all of that. That's
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
man.
Well, I wonder what kind of push the Bahamas could have. Like you see what El Salvador is doing, attracting Bitcoiners here through regulatory initiatives. You're not really seeing that here. You're just more seeing a few Bitcoiners here pushing it to the Thai community. So we'll see how that develops. Obviously, it could be a great tool of economic freedom here for people as well. So yeah, we're going to continue to develop and bring attention to it, and I'll be reporting on the Bitcoin Marathon here in November. So look out for that. But yeah, Lambo, I want
Yep.
to ask you, what kind of because in 2022 when we spoke, you gave me words of wisdom of talk to strangers, meet new people, and seek opportunities through this. So I wanted to ask you if you've met anybody interesting lately.
I've been meeting a lot of interesting people. A lot of it has been online. I met like people through the government blockchain alliance. That's like a alliance they was doing like work with different organizations. I was meeting like a lot of different influencers and different people who have like podcasts in the space. So we were working together, and even like in the Bahamas locally, I was meeting a lot of people who I didn't know was interested in crypto, and like meeting a lot of people who actually have like who do a lot of trading, investing, like one of my friends who I just recently met, like they say he's a Bitcoin maxi, like you, very, very big Bitcoin maxi. So like it's just this space just open up a lot of doors just to meet new people in general, you know. And when you're kind of like when you position yourself as the guy in crypto, a lot of people when they want to learn, they're gonna reach out to you, and
Hmm.
that's a good thing. Like always to keep your door open to do that, you know. Like I what's up with my DMs are always open. If you see I DM you first asking you for money, that's not me. That's an imposter account. But yeah, I've been meeting a lot of interesting people in the space. But
Cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete with online, right? It's a
yeah,
regular day. I'm not really speaking to people who
yeah,
are into this space, but yeah, it's hard to compete with online interactions and being able to connect with people, and just Twitter, X, like that's been over the years has been indispensable for me. Like just meeting people in this space. It's where I get all my guests for my show for the most part. Except you. Are you on Twitter or are you just Instagram?
I'm on Twitter, but to be honest, I don't really use Twitter for any type of like crypto and networking stuff.
Okay.
Usually, I just stick to. I do post sometimes on LinkedIn, but usually it's Instagram and TikTok. That's usually my two main places to post. And Crypto Noobs, you'll also post on the Crypto Noobs page. Will post on LinkedIn as well as Facebook
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
a lot of Bahamians use Facebook, so we're always tapped into that community. But
Hmm.
yeah, really TikTok and Instagram are my two main social medias I stick to.
Awesome, man. So if you don't mind, can you just let us know where people can follow you and learn more? That what's
You
your
could follow
what's your
me on
handle?
you could follow me on Instagram at crypto_Lambo, or you could follow me on TikTok at crypto.lambo.
Cool, man. I
And
appreciate you coming back and updating us with everything that's going on with you. Would love to keep in touch over the years, and we can come back to our
definitely,
conversation and see how things have developed since then. And maybe I'll come down to the Bahamas when I get back to that side of the world, and we can link up
definitely.
there. Maybe Buddy Hield will be around. We can meet him for a picture and an autograph. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
He's got the championship trophy,
yeah,
hopefully, after this year. Sweet man.
yeah.
Thanks for doing this today.
All right, thanks for having me.